Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our German webinar. Before we start, I am Anouk. I am Polaron's marketing and communications coordinator. And I would really like to remind you all to please leave your comments and questions in the Q&A box below. And also please subscribe to our YouTube channel and our other social media pages. We will cover today dual citizenship explained, what the required paperwork is for applying, the application process, and then the benefits of working with Polaron. And then at the end of the webinar, we will be having our Q&A. So we are here today with Eva. Eva is our Polaron's founder and director and has been helping people reclaim their EU citizenship since 2003. Thank you so much for being here, Eva.
Hi, just my camera is playing up, sorry. Here we go. Hello. Hi, Anouk. How is everyone?
Thank you so much for being here, Eva.
Thank you.
Then we have our guest speaker, Piotr, who is our senior citizenship support specialist. He does everything regarding the applications, and we are very happy to have you here.
Hi, hello everybody, and thank you for inviting me to the webinar.
You're welcome. You can also find a QR code here that you can scan to book a free call with our EU citizenship experts. This link will also be shared after the webinar. So no worries if you miss it this time. So a bit about Polaron. We are a company founded in 2003, and since then we've been helping over 15,000 people obtain EU citizenship, mainly focusing on Polish, German, and Czech, but we do many others as well. We have offices around the globe with people available 24/7. So if you ever have questions about anything at all, or you need some help within the process, please reach out. We are always available to help. And without further ado, I will hand over to Eva to give us a little quick recap about our previous webinar, which was about German eligibility.
Thanks, Anouk, and welcome everyone. So look, my quick recap will be about what we spoke about last time, which was eligibility for German citizenship, as you said. And German laws have recently changed. They changed twice, back in September 2021, and more recently in June of 2024. And these changes were quite major to citizenship laws, generally speaking, and also to eligibility, in that a couple of new pathways were introduced to citizenship. But last year, Germany has also permitted people to hold dual citizenship, meaning that if you are an American, Australian, or any other nationality, and you wish to claim your German citizenship, or if you're holding a German citizenship and you want to become a citizen of another country, you can now hold both. So that was just a quick recap. So I'll get you to move on to the next slide. Thank you, Anouk. I'll bring our fantastic guest speaker in, Piotr, who heads our German citizenship production team. What we mean by production, he'll tell us in a moment. But before we do that, Piotr, can you tell us what is dual citizenship? Sometimes people get confused about what that means. Could you just in a few words explain to us what the meaning of dual citizenship is?
Yes, of course, Eva. Thank you for this question. Well, generally speaking, in general, dual citizenship means that an individual, a person, is legally recognized as a citizen of two or more countries. In my department, we are dealing with German citizenship, so having clients from all around the world, for example, as you mentioned, Australia, US, South Africa, we then apply and help people apply for the second German citizenship, and then they will be recognized while they will be traveling, for example, for work or life in Europe and in Germany. They will be then recognized as German citizens, so they will be treated as Germans. If they will, for example, get back to their home origin country like US or Australia, they will be treated as Australians or US citizens on the basis of their birthright.
Thank you for that explanation. So essentially, just to summarize further what you've said is that most countries allow dual citizenship, but they don't recognize it. So sometimes it's a bit hard to understand what that means, but what it does mean, Germany, for example, now allows people to hold more than one citizenship. But once you are in the country of citizenship, they will not recognize you as holding a dual citizenship, if that means. And sometimes I get questions, I don't know if you do, whether you can have more than 2 or more than 3 or more than 4. It depends on a country, but most countries allow you to have as many as you can. And sometimes people don't have a choice about that because they may be born German or Polish or Czech, whatever it is. So it does simply mean that you have multiple citizenships, if that makes sense to everyone. All right, and we'll go on to the next question. All right, so Piotr, given that you specialize in German citizenship in this particular instance, we have at the previous webinar talked about what you need to be eligible. But now the next step, if you've been told that you qualify, what is the paperwork that's required? Knowing that German government expects the paperwork to be submitted in a paper form. So there's not no electronic submission. So for example, if you apply for citizenship in Australia or US, there'll be a form with lots of questions and you can apply online, but it's not like that in Germany, right?
Yes, indeed. Well, the Germans are pretty strict when it comes to regulations concerning submitting the paperwork. They only allow us to submit paper hard copies of all the documents. What is also very important, because in general, we can, let's say, make a division of the documents that are required within 3 sections. One is the application forms, which is pretty common to all governmental agencies and all requests we are doing in contact with government as such. Then we have the vital records of the applicants, so the people that they are seeking the citizenship to be granted. And the third part will be the ancestral documents. So all the proofs, all the evidence that you are eligible and you have the proofs that will support your German claim in our department. So this is, let's say, overall, the 3 sections. What is important regarding the German part is, apart from the fact that it needs to be submitted as hard copies, also what is pretty common when it comes to our questions from our new clients and also in terms of eligibility beforehand, is that we need to know and we need to be aware of the fact that all the documents that will be submitted in Germany later on when the process starts will not be returned back. Right. Therefore, it is very important that usually people have 1 copy of each document, marriages, divorces, birth certificates. So it's always important to have in mind that in order not to lose the originals, you have to be aware that we will ask and we will recommend to apply for duplicates that can be given away to Germany later on, and then of course your originals stay at home safely in the wardrobe or a safe deposit box.
Again, just to summarize, you need to prove firstly who you are. And you do that by providing a birth certificate, copy of your passport or whatnot. Then you need to provide a link to your ancestor if you applying for citizenship through descent, let's say, or through restitution. And depending on the pathway you then follow, so let's imagine we're talking about the restitution case where you need to prove that your direct ancestor, was subject to oppression in Nazi Germany. You need to provide documents that prove that, right? So it's just like a 3-stage application, I guess, is what we're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. This is the case. So, as you mentioned, there are certain pathways. Each of those they have certain differences in terms of the required documents. As you mentioned, for example, when it comes to restitution cases, we are talking about proving their ancestor was persecuted. Therefore, if the client has certain documents, this is great, and we have, let's say, already a building block to start the process. If not, we can always help in terms of a research process that will allow us to find all the proofs, all the evidence that, for example, a given ancestor on the one hand was persecuted. On the other hand, we also conduct research to prove that a given ancestor was of German heritage and held a German citizenship in the past.
And this is where there's a bit of discretion, I guess, on the part of German government, where those proofs that you mentioned or this evidence can vary between our clients because people often, escape Germany with no documentation. Or if, let's say, we're working with someone that's Jewish who was persecuted, the types of documents that they may have or we may be able to find will vary, just depending on the circumstances. So, the first two steps, meaning that you have to prove who you are clear. It's usually a birth, marriage certificate, change of name certificate. Let's say if you change your name. We've also had people that have changed their gender, so that becomes a bit more of a complex process, I guess, because the recognition of someone's gender in, say, Australia and America might look different than what happens in Germany. So that's step number one. The second thing is prove your relationships. So again, that could be anything like a death certificate or your own birth certificate, depending how many generations we go back. But then the third part could be somewhat discretionary because it'll depend on people's circumstances.
Yeah, exactly. This is the case that depending on how many generations we are going through, the documents required may be a bit longer or a bit shorter, depending on, for example, if we have clients who are basing the case already on their parents. This is pretty straightforward because we will request or we will provide documents just for the parents. But of course, if, for example, we are talking about great-grandparents or grandparents, we need to link our applicants to their parents, and then later on through the documents you mentioned, like marriages, death certificates or birth certificates, to link all those generations up to the target ancestor.
Sure. And you did mention, Piotr, that documentation needs to be supplied in a hard copy format. And you did say that it's really important to remember that the German government will not return documents. And therefore, it's better to supply them in a certified form, which also requires notarization or depending on the country. But what we're seeing on the screen there are apostilles. Can you tell us what that is? Can you explain to us why this needs to be done when we prepare documents?
Well, yes, of course, when it comes to German authorities, they do not have, let's say, the knowledge about each and every document from a given country. Therefore, in terms of countries and applicants from countries which signed the Hague Convention, we have a certain international certification which is called the apostille. This is usually done by state authorities or foreign affairs departments, depending on the country. And this certification signed and stamped by the clerk of a given country gives the German authorities 100% assurance that this is a true and original document from a given country. So there will be no accusations or no doubts whether this is an original, maybe it's a copy, maybe somebody altered it in any way. So this apostille seal and this additional page, as you can see, depending on the country, because we have an example from US, from Great Britain or from South Africa. Those may differ, however, they are based on the same Hague Convention and same law. Therefore, this is, let's say, a true proof that a document that our clients will be submitting are true and originals from a given country.
And from experience, I can tell our viewers that it sounds simple, but it isn't. In that US has got 50 different states, and each state issues this document slightly differently. They look different, different offices handle them. But also with our clients, they come from all kinds of places, including the Philippines and Thailand and many African nations, South American countries, and some countries are not signatories to The Hague. And if that's the case, then we need to do double certification. So, for example, Canada just recently became a signatory to The Hague, but prior to that, we had to do like double certification through the consulate. In any case, what we're showing you on the screen is just the type of certification that we need to do for documents that we work with. Hopefully it makes sense to everybody. It is something we can send you more information on if you like. I'll get you to move on to the next slide. Thank you, Anu. All right, so people often ask what happens after they become clients, and luckily we're in good hands, Piotr. Luckily we have a team that you had. Tell us a bit more about the application process, and those of you that are wondering, because of the changes of the law in Germany that we just mentioned, the number of applications year on year has gone up by 46%. Because they've shortened also the time for naturalization in Germany. And there's discussions that the German government may, in fact, go back to what it was, which is 5 years, but I think currently it's 2 years, if I'm not wrong, Piotr, for naturalization. So not through descent, not through restitution. So if you move to Germany as a resident, after 2 years currently, you can apply. And that means that the waiting times with the German government have skyrocketed and currently are more than 24 months. And it used to be 6 to 12 months. And even, maybe you can tell us, if you were elderly or over the age of 70, you could get your citizenship within 3 months, but that's no longer the case. Yeah, could you tell us more about the timelines, maybe?
Well, when it comes to the timelines, what you mentioned is true. Currently, all the processes and all the pathways are affected by the increase the number of applications they are processing. Currently, it's around 24 months, but most of the cases it's getting a bit longer than the 24 months period.
Right.
When it comes to the age, it was 70, let's say a few months ago, but recent change and information from the Federal Office of Administration has given us an update that from this point, taking into account the number of increased applications, now when it comes to giving our clients a fast track option, you need to be over 80. So it's already a 10 years gap that will make those applications for people plus 70 not available for the fast track. But of course, but to tell the truth, I already have an example of a client who was over 80. It was 87, and he was submitted 3 months ago, and he received already this decision. So when it comes to the fast track option of the elderly people, it's on. So this period of above 80 is working. So whenever you would like to find a pathway and you would like to submit your application, even in that sort of age, I'm pretty sure that the Federal Office of Admission will deal with it very short.
Yeah, they put you ahead of the queue, but of course everybody else needs to wait, and sometimes people get a little bit impatient, but it's literally there's a queue, and when you submit the application, you will get to the end of the queue at some point, and at this time it's 24 months or more. And the government at that stage can ask you for maybe more documents or clarification. The way that we prepare our documentation is we try and submit it as soon as we can, so that we can add documents as we go along if need be. But maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what happens as far as the application process itself. Like what is it that you do, any team, in terms of preparing our clients' applications?
Well, yes, of course. Well, the first part is that after we receive information that a new client arrived, we schedule a meeting with the client. So this is, we call it a kickoff meeting, during which we present a summary of the whole process that I will be, let's say, talking about right now. We are presenting a document list, individual document list for each and every applicant regarding their own vital documents, regarding ancestry documents. If there is a research involved, we also explain how long will the research take and what sort of documents we are going to look for. Those meetings are usually the first step. From this point afterwards, well, let's say we are dealing with the case simultaneously. On the one hand, our clients have the homework of obtaining all the documents from the list. In the meantime, we are preparing and filling in the application forms with all the information we were able to gather from the client. If there are if there are any additional information needed, we always are in contact via email or via phone with our clients. So when the time comes that we have all the information, we are sending the clients a PDF file of version of the application forms. They are reviewing it. If everything is correct, we ask them to print those applications out, sign them. And when the time comes that they will tell us that they have all the documents from the list, we are just advising to which office they should send the documents to us, because, you know, depending on the country, the system may be a bit different, because certain countries will have to, for certain countries, our clients will have to already have the documents, for example, apostilled and notarized or legalized in a different way. For example, when it comes to US, Australia, we can help with the apostilling of those documents. So then we just inform the client to which office they should send the documents. And from this point, when the documents are on our side, we are dealing with either certification of the documents, in this case apostilling, which usually takes a few weeks depending on the country. Of course, when it comes to US, it's a bit longer than, for example, other countries like Australia, which is much more efficient.
Quite efficient, yeah.
Yeah. So from this side of those two countries, we are dealing with the apostilling. So we have a dedicated team of specialists when it comes to the document certification. For other countries whose clients already submit the full applications with apostilled documents, they are sending it to our main hub in Czech Republic, where we already, let's say, make a review of the documents and prepare the package to be sent to Germany. What is also the case that you mentioned, that the timelines are pretty long in terms of countries where we need to apostille the documents. We are already, let's say, focusing on submitting the documents as soon as possible. So what we are currently doing is that on the one hand, we are dealing with all the documents that need certification. On the other hand, we are already sending to our hub in Czech Republic all the other documents, like application forms, notarized documents, or passports, to prepare the package and send the application as soon as possible, because the German authorities, as all bureaucracies do, they have their own internal timelines for each and every step of their part of the process. So in order not to waste time, to wait for the certification to come, we're just moving on to be as efficient as possible.
And Piotr, you make it sound simple, but simple is never easy. So I just wanted to let everybody that's watching behind the scenes, because what happens is that sometimes documents have mistakes, and I think we yet to work with a family where there's no mistakes in the document, right? In their document. So there's always either a spelling mistake or there's some issue with the documents that we have to correct before the document can be apostilled. Otherwise, the German documents will just send it back. So one of the steps that is not really there, but we do very diligently, just to check every single bit of information that people send us. Because if you apostille something and it's got a mistake, guess what? We have to pay for it again if it needs to be corrected. So I know that your team looks at our documents very carefully before they even processed, yeah?
Yeah, of course. Well, all the documents are always reviewed by us and also by the specialists who are dealing with certification. So there is always, let's say, a two-step verification, the first one and the second one before the certification to explain, or even before the submission. So we are always making a detailed review of all the documents. And even if there are any discrepancies, we are already trying to, let's say, discuss it with the client or with the people who are responsible for certification of the documents, in order to find the best solution to make everything as efficient as fast as possible.
Thank you. And I can see that we have a lot of questions. So I might just stop us there and hand over to Anouk to see who wants to know what. Oh, benefits of working. Oh, we can't miss that. What are the benefits of working with Polaron, Piotr, just in a sentence?
Well, in
a
one
lot
sentence,
of hand-holding, right?
Well, in one sentence, that we are there for you through the whole process. So we are advising you from the moment you sign up. We are advising you about the documents, how to obtain them, what sort of documents will be required, what sort of certifications. We will help you with certification or finding a solution how to do it in your country if it's not, for example, Australia or US. There are also plenty of questions regarding additional documents like military records, naturalization certificates. Those are pretty complex ones, so we have always a solution and a pathway how to obtain those. And also, what is very important, we help with translations, with organizing the whole submission. And as a final thing, of course, we are the middleman, and we are, let's say, your shield between you, the client, and the German authorities. So we will be the ones who will inquire about your situation, about your progress. If there will be any questions, any requests from the side of German authorities, we will, of course, verify what is needed, how we should obtain, for example, information documents, and we can always assist you.
And I think we're well known for handling really complex cases. Sometimes if it's just a one generation back kind of application, you can go through the consulate or submit your documentation directly to the German government. But most people that work with us have pretty complex cases, so that's where we can step in. All right, lots of questions. And what questions do we have for Piotr? Go ahead.
Yes, we have quite a lot of questions. So the first one, and I am really sorry if I pronounce it wrong, but someone says, is it possible to use Yad Vashem documents? Are those
Yad
hard
Vashem,
copies?
yeah.
Are those hard copies of those even possible to get?
Yes, so you can request from them a certified copy of whatever documentation they have available. So this particular archive is obviously based in Israel, and they have a lot of testimonials and statements that were provided by Holocaust survivors. So oftentimes they'll have lots of detailed information about the family's history during the Holocaust. A lot of this information is available online, but for German government, you need to request a certified copy. And yes, you can do that. And in fact, after the webinar, we can send people some more information about that.
Thank you so much. Then we have a few people who have a bit of the same question, which is, can you outline which documents to send in for citizenship via ancestry, or just like, can we give people a required list of documents?
Yeah, it might be easier if we send them, afterwards. So we don't have a list of documents, and that is because they come in three different kind of stages. So one would be, again, I think we mentioned that earlier, and Piotr, go ahead and step in if I'm saying something that's not right. But it's about you. So your birth certificate, marriage certificate if you're married, and a copy of your passport, right? For some citizenships, you also require a police check. Am I right?
Yes, for some pathways, there are police checks needed. For some, for example, military statements that there are no military service involved. What is also probably very important when it comes to your own documents, so the one about you, is that, for example, when it comes to martial status, the German government will require the whole history of your martial status. So even if you will state that you are married, but this is your fourth marriage, then simply we will request from your end, for example, all 4 marriages, 3 divorces, or if there was any death involved, for example, so you are widowed. So all of those documents would have to be arranged. Therefore, there isn't, as you said, there isn't, let's say, an ideal scheme of the documents that can be given to everybody. Yeah, because each and every case is different, especially when it comes to then afterwards the historical background of the family, because then the list may be very short or very long.
Yeah, but typically it'll be documents about you, whatever that might look like. Then there'll be documents linking you to your ancestor, if it's through descent or through restitution. And then the third type of document would be documents proving, for example, that they were persecuted or that they left Germany at a given time, or something else that relates to the pathway that you're applying under. And Germany's got a different pathway, so that those types of documents will depend on which pathway you're pursuing.
Exactly, this is the case.
Okay, we have time for one more question, Anouk. We,
Yes.
as always, have run out of time.
Yes. But just for the record, every question that doesn't get answered will be answered in our, follow-up email, where we also share the webinar recording. So people, please don't worry if your question doesn't get answered in this session. But our last question.
You can reach out to us directly too. So
yeah, of course. We have one question that says, what is the difference between Festilling, Stag 5, and so on?
Oh, Piotr, tell us. Well, what is the case? Well, generally speaking, Verstellung with the Verstellung pathway is the determination one. So this pathway is connected with determining and proving that a given ancestor of yourself had German citizenship in the past, held it, and was recognized as a German. So we are basing the case on exactly on a German ancestor that had and held a citizenship. When it comes to other pathways, like, for example, restitution, this is also what we mentioned. This is based on persecution. So we need to prove that your ancestors, due to Nazi regime, were persecuted, for example, were sent to camps or had to flee Germany, or they were stripped from German citizenship due to their religion. So this is concerning the persecution. When it comes to naturalization pathway, this is something which is, let's say, typically discretionary. So you apply and you want to become a German citizen without any background when it comes to ancestry or such. But you then, for example, fill in applications, you show and prove that you have, let's say, connection with Germany, you would like to work there.
You speak the language.
You speak the language, you like the culture, you know about politics, geography, all those little aspects, and of course you are self-sufficient, so you have the work, you have the abilities, so you can be an asset to the German community.
Great. And again, we would also encourage people to watch the previous webinar, which covers the different pathways that, in a lot more detail. But if anyone has specific questions or those that we haven't answered today, you can reach out to us and we'll also send follow-up information afterwards. So on that note, we are about 2 minutes over time. I'm so sorry, Piotr, but I did want to say thank you for coming and sharing your expertise with us. On your screen, everyone, you can see our email address. You can scan it. You can connect to us through Facebook or LinkedIn or call us. There's a US number there on the screen, but on our website, you have other ways to contact us as well. So hopefully we have covered, and here's my cat, we have covered everything we needed to cover, but a big thank you, Piotr, for your participation and explaining the process so nicely and clearly to us.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very happy that I was part of the webinar, and hopefully we will meet again.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, Anouk.